Good morning, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and it's 10:01. Shirley, could you please go over the public comments process?
Yes, do you want me to do the roll call first?
Yes, please.
Jerry Abrahams will not be attending. Cindy Butts.
Here.
Wendy Clark. Heidi DeWinger.
Here.
Kylie Goslin.
Here.
Tim Hodges. Kathy McKinnon. Salem Mascara Bruno.
Yes.
George Perez.
Here.
Franklin Perry. Sarah Sanders.
Here.
Lisa Tepper Bates. Gwendolyn Thames. Greg Ugalde.
Here.
Thank you, Shirley. And now you can go over the public comments process.
Good morning. This will be the only opportunity on the agenda for the public to provide comments. If you'd like to provide a comment, please state your name for the record. To ensure that everyone has the opportunity, comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Any public comments? Okay, the public comment period has ended, and I will now turn the meeting over to the commissioner.
Thank you, Shirley. Next on our agenda is a report from our CEO, Nandini.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. It's great to be here today. Happy June indeed. June has actually been an incredibly busy month as the state reopened. We've received invitations for many ribbon cuttings. It's been my distinct pleasure to attend 5 ribbon cuttings and 1 virtual ribbon cutting this past month, and we have 3 more before the month is over. 329 units have come online as a result of these 6 different openings. And just for a quick overview of them, you might be interested to hear about Hub on Park, which is Kathy McKinnon's development in the Frog Hollow neighborhood in Hartford. It's the 5th development in the revitalization of this area. 45 units, 40 of which are affordable, received 9% credits. Oak Tree Village, which was a virtual grand opening in Griswold, is the first major development in many years. The first of 2 phases, new construction, 72 units in 2 buildings, 50 of which are affordable, mixed income, again, 9% credits, built to passive house standards. The Wish House, which is a beautiful building, built on a vacant lot, new construction, brought to us by Women and Families, a nonprofit out of Meriden, Connecticut. 12 supportive units for homeless youth, funded through the HTCC, the Housing Tax Credit Contribution Program. 9th Square in New Haven has been in the CHFA portfolio for years, a troubled property for a long time, repositioned by Beacon Communities using 4%.
Hi, excuse me, this is Kathy Austin, and I was on the phone for public comment and it disconnected. And I don't know if you've gone beyond that.
We had, but I think we can pause and I'm certain, perhaps go back to the public comment if you'd like. Commissioner, how would you like to handle it?
Sure. Why don't Senator Austin, Nandini, can we pause and have Senator Austin make the public comment, Shelley? That works?
Of course.
Yes. Yep. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, Senator.
So I just wanted to make a quick public comment, and again, I apologize. 1, for not knowing that the rule was going to change for the qualified action plan so dramatically that would impact Eastern Connecticut. Many of my colleagues and I proffered a letter yesterday, which we hope that you all received, and we are requesting respectfully that you postpone the implementation of this rule change and at a minimum grandfather in previously submitted projects. We also ask that you give time for us in Eastern Connecticut to evaluate the impact of this change. We think that we would be put at a serious disadvantage where funding is concerned relative to this change. And thank you for letting me speak, and I apologize for my dog.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you. Nandini, so Shelley, you can close the public comments again, right? Okay.
Right, yes.
Nandini, could you
Sure,
proceed with
sure.
your finish
Yep,
report?
I'm picking up where I left off. So 9 Square New Haven, which was in CHFA's portfolio for a long time, has been repositioned, 335 units, more than half of which are affordable. The mood was celebratory. It was a mixed use and mixed income, several buildings along many city blocks. And it was really heartening to see that many of the businesses that are part of 9 Square stayed open throughout the pandemic and continue to operate. And it's clearly a successful revitalization. 49 Prince Street, which was also in New Haven, is part of the Hill to Downtown revitalization. It's a multi-phase project. It's an adaptive reuse of a former school, 30 units of family units, all of which are affordable. And finally, but certainly not, not least, is 23 Franklin Street, which is in New London. It's in the Hempstead neighborhood. It's the renovation of a single family home, a historic home using HTCC funding, a historic 175-year-old home. Civil rights icon Linwood Bland Jr. lived here for 40 years. And it's on the Black History Heritage Trail that New London has created. So just want to say a big thank you to the staff at CHFA, to the board for your support. It takes more than a village to bring all of these together. I think I wanted to use my time today to talk about these because I felt that we've done so much in the last year trying to make sure business continued, and seeing all of these come to fruition, these units come online, is extremely gratifying. And I felt very lucky to be there, to be the one representing CHFA. So again, thank you. And I'll pass it back to the commissioner.
Okay. Thank you, Nandini. Is Rob going to report on the state and federal legislative update? Actually, before that, anybody has any questions for Nandini?
Hi, it's Tim. I don't have any questions. I do want to echo Nandini's comments about seeing all the projects that are coming up, and I think it's great. I don't know whether this is a time, but Amy has been sending out kind of the list of the different projects that are coming up, which I think has been great because I think we talked about that before in terms of making sure board members have that, and I think it's been great to see. So appreciate that, Amy. One of the things we talked about though was, in addition to getting that list, letting directors know if it would be useful for us to be at those groundbreakings or ribbon cuttings. And I'm not suggesting that we necessarily change the process, but if I get a list and I see something on there that, let's say that's in Stamford or Bridgeport or whatever, I probably just won't show up. And you probably don't certainly don't want to take a picture with me. But my point being, if it's going to be useful for a director to be at the event, if you could just let us know. I'm always happy to help. But if I see something in Hartford, in New London, whatever, I'm not going to just show up. Because I've seen the list. So just something for thought.
We'll take
Thank
it
you.
under consideration. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other comment? All right, thank you. Rob?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner, and happy summer, everybody. As the Commissioner noted, I just wanted to provide all of you with a very brief update on the the goings on at the state capitol and in Washington, D.C. First of all, on the federal front, included in your package, as you may see on the screen, was a federal legislative update. And I'm not going to rehash all of that, but I did want to make you all aware of a couple of recent developments on the goings on at DC. First of all, there is an indication that the CDC will be extending the federal eviction moratorium from the end of this month to the end of next month. Nothing definitive yet, but that's the reports that are coming out at this point in time. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for all that. And then secondly, there seems to be some real progress being made on the one of the topics du jour in DC these days on the potential for a major federal infrastructure bill. As you may be aware, there's a bipartisan group of U.S. senators who have been working on a $1.2 trillion proposal that would involve somewhere in the neighborhood of $569 billion in new infrastructure spending. That bill does not include some of the robust affordable housing expenditures that were part of President Biden's American Jobs Plan. That plan included some monies regarding dedicated housing expenditures in the neighborhood of $213 billion. It included an increase in LIHTC. It included some money around a new Neighborhood Homes Investment Act tax credit program. The bill being bandied about by this bipartisan group doesn't include all of that, but still does have some $569 billion of new spending. And reportedly yesterday, that group agreed on a pay for the bill. So they're supposedly going to be briefing the president later today on that whole bill, and there's some potential for that to move forward in the coming days and weeks. For those of you who may be concerned that the bill does lack some of the housing expenditures that I'm sure that we would all like to see, there has been some serious discussion about the Senate running a bill in parallel to that under the Budget Reconciliation Project. So this bill would include some of that spending and some of the president's climate change initiatives, some child care expenditures and whatnot. So more to come on that front, but there seems to be some real movement afoot regarding infrastructure spending in Congress coming up this summer. On the state side, as I'm sure you all are aware, there were a number of bills pertaining to affordable housing this session. However, I sense that this session may be defined as much by what didn't happen as by what did happen on the affordable housing front. So there were a number of bills, including one pertaining to fair share zoning that was modeled after the New Jersey experience. That bill didn't pass. There was another bill that would have allowed housing authorities to develop properties outside of their normal municipal boundaries. That bill didn't pass. There was another proposal that would have allowed developers as a right to develop multifamily housing around train stations and in commercial town centers. That bill didn't pass. What did pass was a much more modest proposal that involved some provisions around ADUs, around parking requirements for new apartments and new multifamily developments, around training for land use commissioners. And I think because affordable housing advocates might have been a little disappointed in the progress that occurred this year on the affordable housing front, I think you'll see a number of initiatives introduced again next year. Aside from those particular bills, I did want to highlight very briefly three other ones that were of particular importance to us here at CHFA. The first of these was actually a bill that we ourselves got introduced. Under current law, we are required to purchase either surety bonds or a blanket position bond on all of you board members and staff members at CHFA to ensure that we all execute our jobs in an ethical and honest fashion. In practice, what we've done is supplemented those bonds with a robust liability policy. And in fact, we've only purchased a blanket position bond because we're required to by law. And so what we proposed in legislation, unfortunately, we were able to get passed, was that we just be able to rely on the insurance policy we purchased, thereby saving us a few $1,000s each year. And as I noted, fortunately, that bill did pass. It was an amendment to another bill. And that other bill is one that I did want to speak briefly about as well. It pertains to our down payment assistance program. The bill was introduced by the banking committee, and we worked with the committee to kind of get the bill to a good place. And essentially it does two things. First of all, it requires us to cover closing costs as part of our down payment assistance program. We do that as a matter of course already, but I think for continuity purposes, the banking committee wanted to ensure that we do so going forward. And then beyond that, what the bill does is it gives us the opportunity to create affordability incentive zones in the state. So in areas where there's a lack of affordable housing, it allows us to expand our DAP offering there. So presumably if we wanted to increase the loan amount under DAP, or if we wanted to provide a lower interest rate in communities that lack affordable housing, we could do so under the authority that was granted by this bill. And then there was an additional bill that pertained to our emergency mortgage assistance program. Again, this bill was introduced by the banking committee, and we worked with them to get it into a good place as well. And that bill essentially does two things in regards to our EMAP program. First of all, it creates a new emergency lien assistance program under EMAP. So if you are a person who has a delinquency regarding property taxes or sewer usage fees or condo fees, you can come to EMAP and get a loan to help offset those liabilities. And then beyond that, the bill also gives us permissive authority to set up a loan guarantee program with Connecticut banks. So if we get to a point, for instance, where we find out that the bond funding that supports EMAP is drying up, and we feel the need to leverage some private capital, we can work with Connecticut banks to set up a loan guarantee program to kind of extend the EMAP program. And then finally, I'll conclude by just highlighting a series of other bills that were of concern to us. I think they were perhaps well-intentioned, but these bills would have really restricted the ability of quasi-public entities such as us at CHFA to kind of maintain some flexibility and nimbleness in our operations. In essence, in short, these bills were an attempt, I think, to make us a little bit more like a typical state agency, particularly as it pertains to our procurement practices and whatnot. But fortunately, this year we were able to kind of beat those bills back a little bit. But there did seem to be some additional momentum this year. So it's something that we're going to have to keep an eye out for going forward, in making sure that legislators understand that, our ability to operate in a flexible and nimble fashion is really key in our carrying out our public mission effectively. So I guess I would just say, all in all, from our standpoint, it was a good legislative session. We were able to get a bill of ours passed. We were able to improve a couple of bills dealing with our EMAP and DAP program. And we were able to kind of thwart a couple of bills that we were concerned about that were brought up this year in the session. So with that, that concludes kind of my update. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this point in time.
Thank you, Rob. Cindy, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add under your federal legislative update, I think it'd be important to flag the 1031 exchange program, which is currently under attack. We're aggressively working with Congress and the White House on it. But there are a lot of affordable housing developments that will not happen if the 1031 program goes away, including one that might not have been able to happen that's later on in our agenda. But that is a very common way that people are able to move from a commercial development over into affordable housing. A lot is not going to happen if that program goes away. So I just think it's important to flag that as well.
Thank you, Cindy. Any other comments or questions for Rob? All right, thank you, Rob. Finance Committee still on vacation. No action items from them. So let's move on to Mortgage Committee. Unless Sarah wants to add anything, or Tam from the Finance Committee.
No, we did talk about the request for proposal that's going out to bond underwriters. We talked about minority firms and veteran-owned firms and different.
So you guys have good conversations. Good. Mortgage Committee, Masood, are you gonna present the resolution for Coleman Towers Apartments?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. The board is being asked to approve a construction to permanent first mortgage loan utilizing tax exempt bond proceeds of up to $28,070,000 to Spruce CT Owner LLC. The construction loan will be for approximately $6.1 million at an interest rate of up to 4.65% for a term of up to 24 months. The permanent loan will be for up to $24 million at an interest rate of up to 4.75%, interest only during construction, and then converting to a fully amortizing mortgage with a term of up to 40 years. Coleman Towers is an existing 13-story apartment located in Stamford, serving families. This property has operated as a limited equity co-op and has been experiencing financial issues and deferred maintenance. This proposed financing will upgrade the property, settle the delinquent taxes and utility charges, as well as adding an additional 43 affordable units that will be subject to a 40-year ELIC. Mortgage Committee was supportive of the transaction with 1 no vote by Cindy Butts. I would welcome Mortgage Committee to share any comments that they have. We also have staff available to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you, Masood. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved, it's Heidi.
I'll make a motion that we approve it as submitted.
So Heidi motion, Greg second. Any comments?
Yeah, it's Tim. So first of all, thank you. This is a property that's been in dire need of support for a really long time. So this isn't just recent financial challenges. Just a couple of things I want to point out, and I don't think it really matters, but just I figured I'd point out anyway. So I think if it's the building I'm thinking of, it's on Spruce Street. It's not on Main Street, which is actually on the west side, and
Yes.
the map shows it as being on the east side, across from Chelsea Piers. There's no building like that over in that
No.
on that side of town.
It's on the west side.
Yeah. So I think it's important. I am curious. So I saw, if I recall correctly, I saw 17 units of market housing. I'm curious as to what market is for that building. I mean, what do the numbers look like? Masuda, any idea?
Yes, I can chime in, and I will also have Deb Alter, who's the underwriter on this transaction, to weigh in. The 17 units that are market, those will be available to households that are earning 120% of AMI. But Deb, feel free to chime in.
Yes, hi, sorry, they're mowing the lawn here, so I apologize for the background noise. Are you asking what the rent they're gonna
Yes.
charge will be? Okay.
Yes.
Hold on a moment. They are proposing $1,769 for the 1 bedrooms and $2,500 for the 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
And those were
That's
supported by the market study.
Yep. No, that's helpful. That building is literally a block away from Parkside Gables, which is, Connecticut Housing Partners property, and sandwiched between Charter Oak Communities or the Stanford Housing Authority, Fairfield Avenue. So there's a lot of affordable housing in that area, but that seems to make a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any other comments? Okay, Shelley. Can you do the roll? Thank you.
No.
Wendy Clark. Who's joined? Heidi DeWinger,
Aye.
Kylie Goslin,
Aye.
Tim Hodges,
Aye.
Kathy McKinnon,
Aye.
Salem Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
George Perez,
Yes.
Franklin Perry, Sarah Sanders,
Yes.
Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Gwendolyn Thames, not present. Craig Ugaldi,
Aye.
one opposition.
Motion carries. Thank you, Shelley. Masuda, you're on for the resolution in regards to the prepayment mortgage for 323 Fairfield Avenue in Bridgeport.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The board is being asked to approve a prepayment on the CHFA first mortgage loan and CHFA CIA loan. Further, the board is being asked to waive the accrued interest on the CIA loan totaling approximately $861,000, including late fees and prepayment fees on both mortgages to assist with the sale. 323 Fairfield at Bijou Square is an 84-unit mixed income development located in Bridgeport. As part of the sale, this property will continue to comply with the restrictions on the home units for another 9 years. CHFA's contractor, Spectrum, will be providing the regulatory compliance oversight. There's also a land use restriction through DECD on the 39 units, and those will remain in place for the 19 years. The vote in mortgage committee was unanimous, and we have staff available to answer any questions as you consider the resolution.
Any questions for Masuda or comments? Okay, Shelley?
We need a motion first.
Oh, can I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second, can I have a second?
So moved.
Who's that, Lisa?
Second.
Okay. Again, comments or questions? Okay, Shelley.
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Heidi DeWinger,
Aye.
Kylie Goslin,
Aye.
Tim Hodges,
Aye.
Kathy McKinnon,
Aye.
Salem Mascaro Bruno,
Yes.
George Perez,
Yes.
Sarah Sanders,
Yes.
Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugaldi,
Aye.
unanimous.
Thank you, Shelley. Motion carries. Thank you, Masuda. So the next item on the agenda is the resolution to adopt the QAP for the low-income housing tax credits 2022 and 2023. Terry Nash is going to do the presentation. Terry?
Thank you and good morning. Again, you have before you the request to adopt a low-income housing tax credit 2022 and 2023 qualified allocation plan as presented. You may recall the board authorized a public hearing and public comment period at its April 29th meeting. Notices were placed in newspapers with widest circulation statewide. E-blasts were sent out. Notices were additionally posted on CHFA's website and in its banner, announcements, and calendar. Members of the public were invited to participate in the public hearing that took place on May 19th and to provide written comments throughout the month of May. In total, 30 written comments were received in addition to the 16 verbal comments provided at the public hearing. A summary of these comments is provided to you in your packages along with each of the comments individually. Common themes included support of the new classification structure of preservation and new construction, and the specific commitment of a set-aside for preservation developments, an appreciation of the 2-year time frame that provides increased predictability for the development community, and an appreciation of the expanded options and thoughtful scope of the sustainability design measures. Additionally, respondents shared comments related to areas of the QAP where incentives are provided and to the application process itself. CHFA engaged in an unprecedented level of outreach to develop this 2-year QAP. Listening sessions, forums, and roundtables were held throughout the QAP development process beginning in early 2020. The level of outreach and engagement that was conducted resulted in fewer comments as the community was well informed throughout the process and had an opportunity to voice concerns. Additionally, stakeholder input was gathered by convening industry leaders in an opportunity mapping work group, a sustainability work group, and a housing authority roundtable. The Opportunity Mapping Work Group was a collaboration of the Fair Housing Center, Open Communities Alliance, CHFA, and DOH in response to the development community's desire for one consistent statewide mapping tool. You may recall that previously DOH had one mapping tool, CHFA had another mapping tool, and this could cause confusion for developers. The end result is the Connecticut Opportunity Map, which DOH is already using and that is incorporated in the QAP before you. Creating affordable housing options for residents seeking greater opportunities for their families is a high CHFA and state policy goal, and points are provided accordingly. The Sustainability Work Group included developers, both for-profit and not-for-profit, architects, engineers, and sustainable design professionals, Eversource, the Green Bank, CHFA, and DOH. The resulting sustainable design measures that this group devised are included in the QAP and were applauded by respondents. There are now a wide variety of reasonable options for developers to include green and energy efficient design in their proposed developments. A roundtable of housing authority leaders and executives was convened to solicit feedback on the change in classifications. This was informative and reaffirmed the decision to change the classification structure as planned. Respondents appreciated the recognition that preservation developments are very different than new construction and will be reviewed accordingly. Overall, the QAP as presented is highly responsive to comments received previously and during outreach. There is a balance in the 2022 and 2023 QAP. The opportunity characteristics incentives provide a total of 15 points, and the local impact section of the QAP includes 16 points for housing opportunities that are more likely to be located outside those areas of opportunity. Not always, but most likely. This section encompasses transit-oriented development, neighborhood revitalization, priority funding areas, qualified census tracts, historic, adaptive reuse, and brownfield developments. Of additional note, CHFA has designed a preliminary application to be utilized with its pre-application process for customers applying for 9% LIHTC in the coming round. This was an additional area of feedback received from several respondents in the fall 2020 input period and in subsequent forums. The high cost of an applicant's investment in order to compete in a 9% round supports the concept of a preliminary application. In this way, high-level policy alignment can be assessed early on in determining a project's readiness. This process of collaboration between CHFA, DOH, and the customer ensures that resources are most judiciously allocated by all parties to developments that will best meet policy goals. The 2022 QAP was very well received and appreciated by the respondents. It is recommended that the board adopt the 2022 and 2023 QAP as presented.
Thank you, Terry. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
This is Kylie. I'll move to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second it, and then I have a question. This is George.
Sure. Yes, Commissioner.
And I know this was touched on at the beginning of the meeting, but I just want to make sure I understood it. Does this have anything to do with the letter we got from the legislators?
Nandini?
I don't think I received a letter from the legislators. Did you, Commissioner?
Yes, and it was addressed to you.
I received it as well.
I received it also.
And it is the what the senator was referring to in her public comments.
Okay.
Can you enlighten us? Can you enlighten the rest of the board who hasn't received it?
So Tim, go ahead, because maybe I have it on my inbox, but I haven't check all my emails from yesterday.
Yes, well, I mean, George received it. Well, let me just ask before I even say anything else. Are there any other directors who have not received it? I know I received it, George received it. Was there anyone else who hasn't received it?
I have not.
I have not. I have
Maybe
not.
with the treasurer wouldn't, I don't know.
Okay, so let me just, and I'm sorry, I don't have it up, and I wasn't expecting to actually.
Tim, I can bring it up for you. This is Lisa. And is that the best way to do it, to share the screen so that the letter, we can't share,
Sorry, I got
Shelley?
disconnected. Sorry, Lisa, for interrupting you. I don't want people to think I drop out. Go ahead.
Yeah, that'd be great, Lisa. If you can share it, that'd be awesome.
Shelley, can you enable that?
Yes, you should be able to share it. If you just hit the bot, if you hit where it says new share.
So that's going to stop the other screen sharing.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Okay, can you see it?
Yes. Thank you.
So this is the letter that came to the board of directors, and I well, I guess I shouldn't apologize. I didn't send it out, but I thought everyone had actually received this letter. And essentially what it says is there's a concern about the opportunity score and how it's going to impact the eastern part of Connecticut. And as the senator commented in the public comment period, they're requesting that we postpone implementation or at least, at the very least, grandfather projects until there's an opportunity to kind of review it and understand it better. And it's signed by, I think there are probably at least 6 legislators there, maybe more. It looks like more.
10 actually.
Yeah.
And I didn't do the checking, but this is a significant portion of the Eastern Region legislative delegation. So noteworthy with regard to that.
Yeah, and it was sent yesterday for folks who might not have received it by Nick Neely.
Okay.
So that might be useful as you're looking through it or looking for it.
Shelley, I'll email this to you and perhaps you can send it out to everyone. Shall I take my screen down or do you want me to leave it up?
You can take it down, Lisa, because it's about the opportunity, I guess, is their concern, the opportunity areas? Okay.
The concern is as stated, is that there is an imbalance created by the new point scoring so that suburban areas, which would be outside of Eastern Connecticut projects, are advantaged. I think is what they're getting at. It's a little bit vague in the language. They talk in relatively general terms about the new scoring rubric, but that was at least the way that I understood it.
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding right now. Although they have the balance for new opportunities, also the balance, we talk about this in the QAP task force, balancing the urban and suburban projects and new construction. Nandini, do you have any comments?
Well, yeah, I want to add that, if I'd known about this letter, I think we would have definitely, acted sooner, but I agree with you, Commissioner, that the way we have, first of all, the number of opportunity points in the QAP has not changed from last year. The map is now aligned with the DOH opportunity map. So in terms of the number of points, they're not skewed anymore toward opportunity areas. We have 15 points last year. We still have 15 points this year. What's changed, in fact, this year is the section dealing with areas outside of areas of opportunity. So community revitalization points and some of the other parts dealing with local impact, which are more likely to be outside of areas of opportunity have actually been increased. So we have 16 points in that section versus 15 points in the areas of opportunity. So I think from our perspective, we do believe that there is balance between opportunity points and non-opportunity points. In addition, we believe that the resulting awards are going to be balanced between suburban and opportunity areas. So, or towns and cities that are areas of opportunity and not areas of opportunity, just as in the last 3 to 5 years that the old map has been used, we've achieved the same balance. So I guess I don't really see cause for concern at this point, but I'm happy to defer to you, Commissioner, if you want to make a different choice at this stage.
Thank you, Nandini. Cindy, you have a comment?
Yeah, is there any harm that's done by waiting a month to adopt it? I think an extraordinary amount of work has been put into this. There's certainly been many opportunities for any stakeholder to weigh in. We have a lot of information, but all of that being said, is there a problem from your standpoint? Does it make it a problem for the future process, or is there a reason not to wait a month and provide whatever opportunity that group wants prior to us taking action?
So I'm gonna, before Kylie, I'm gonna have a Nandini on the legality of this, because I know that there are legality of period of comments and close. So I don't know if Teresa is there. And we also wanted to make sure that we give ample time to the developers to work, to start working on the operational piece of the QAP. But I'll defer to the staff on that.
Yeah. So Terry's not here today, but I can weigh in a little bit and say that if we were to, let's say, delay a month, consider the feedback we've received and maybe perhaps, consider making changes, we would have to go through a second public comment period. And that will certainly delay the resulting document by another 2 or more months, just because it takes a certain amount of time to, there's a certain number of days you have to post for public comment, and then you have a public comment, and then so we just have to play it out. But I would imagine it would delay things by more than a month.
So I think that, we should take a vote and approve the QAP. But I do think that what we can do with the delegation is have a conversation and go into a specific what type of projects are they thinking or looking at, because the developers have the opportunity now to come and talk to both CHFA and DOH and make sure that what we want to do is make sure that projects are done, especially if they have affordable units. So there are many different ways that we can address that. But I will definitely, we should schedule a meeting with the delegation and go over the points and how the QAP works.
The letter suggested 2 approaches. One was to delay, and then what was the other one? At a minimum to
Grandfather.
Grandfather
in, yeah. So that's what I said. If we look and meet with them, go over, and then take a look at what projects is that they're thinking or that is implying that it has to be grandfather in.
Are we talking about delaying a vote then?
No, I was asking that we could take a vote now and then we'll work outside of the QAP with the delegation.
So what happens if the QAP says one thing and they want us to change it? We go back and amend it? Because if there's no need, if there's no urgency to do this now,
well,
suggestions are free. You don't have to take it. My suggestion is let's not upset the legislators if we don't need to.
Isn't it a bit of very late at this point? They had the same opportunity to comment, and every time we reach out, they could have commented. I don't understand those late
But if
dates.
you want to upset one of the more powerful senators and politicians.
Well, we don't want to upset them. That what I'm saying is we can't talk. This is a conversation, and this is also looking at a specific. If it's a project specific that we can work on and look at it, because it really, I'm pretty confident as Nandini, because we have looked at this, that the balance is there for the projects that are in the.
I heard what Nadine say. I heard what she say, but if it doesn't cost us anything to wait another month, which if it
well,
does,
it will cost, because we will have to start the process again on
Okay.
public hearings.
okay.
Yeah.
So can I just
Kylie?
have clarification on that though? Because you specifically said start the process again. And I want to go to your point, Sheila, which is if we have conversations. So first of all, I was on the QEP committee. I think we've done a tremendous job. I think we tried to balance everything, right? And so the question though is if we wait for 30 days, that doesn't mean that anything's necessarily going to change, right? If we have the conversations with the legislators, explain to them the process and what's happening, and it will not impact them in the way that they think it might, then we could be back here next month and still vote for it as is. My concern is if we vote for it as is right now, and then there's an uproar, we absolutely at that point will have an issue going back. So I think the question on the table is there any harm in holding off for 30 days in having this vote next month while we explain? If the answer is yes to that, because for some legal reason, then I understand. But if the answer is, look, if we wait for 30 days and there are absolutely no changes because everyone's now on board and they understand the process, then we still get to where we want to be in 30 days.
So before Nandini, you answer Kylie? And
Yeah.
then Nandini, you can answer.
I just want to note on what Heidi said, that, you know, with all due respect to the group of legislators that wrote this letter, there was an open comment period as well as a public hearing, which and this letter comes the day before we're taking a board vote on it. And, you know, without speculation, I suspect that the QAP's committee's vote last Monday triggered some behind the scenes lobbying with some specific developers to reach out to legislators possibly. And while I think the questions raised here are important, there are also things that have been discussed, I feel like, over the last year as this has been put together. And there has been a tremendous amount of time and research, both by CHFA and DOH, as well as others, into this process really over the last year to get to this point. I also note too, and I did, after receiving the letter, pull up that opportunity map to take a look at it, that there are many moderate, high, and very high communities of opportunity in Eastern Connecticut, which would all receive those points, in addition to what Anthony already noted, which is that there's a balance of points set up in the new QAP that certainly would not exclude and would give other point advantages to towns in Eastern Connecticut and other parts of the state. So I just want to note that while I understand this is coming from legislators and there's a desire to take this sort of last minute request into account, perhaps on the behest of specific developers, it's not, there's been a tremendous amount of effort and time and research that has gone into this, and similar concerns have been discussed and weighed out in those conversations. I read the letter. I again looked into the map and I read through the points again. And I, like Anthony, feel like it's well balanced. And I also think there's a concern with opening a precedent that we have a public hearing process which allows for this input, and that whether it's a legislator or anybody else coming along the day before vote and offering their written opinion result in delaying something, which we've pushed, and I know that other members, Tim and others, have all really pushed to make these meetings happen in a timely fashion with an effort towards moving to give developers time to reflect this. And the last thing I'll say is that anytime you make a policy change like this, and I think, again, a lot of time, research, and thought has gone into this policy change, there's going to be people that are happy and people that aren't going to be happy. And I think that's just the nature of this. And it's not written in stone. If 2 years from now, when we approach this process again, we decide that there's an imbalance and there needs to be tweaking, then we can do that. But I think this passed unanimously out of the QAP committee on Monday or last Monday. And I don't see anything in this letter that wasn't considered that gives me pause as to why we shouldn't take the advice from that QAP committee.
Hey,
Thank you,
Sarah,
Kylie.
it's Tim again.
Oh.
I agree with everything Kylie just said. Having said that, my only question was, is 30 more days going to significantly impact this in a negative way? If that can be answered, then I feel more comfortable. But if we're, everyone has said that this has been a good process and that we've done a good job. If there's one issue that's come up, look, I'm comfortable with that, and maybe it's just a matter of explaining it. My only issue is, if we wait 30 more days, does that somehow screw everything up that we've worked on?
So Nandini, I'm going to ask you.
I can try to weigh in. I think there's no legal reason for there's no legal ramification for delaying, right? I don't believe there is. However, having said that, I think that the development community would really appreciate it if we were to have a QAP that was approved. They have consistently asked us to give them more time. By delaying, you could send a signal that we haven't settled on it, that it could change. It just prolongs the period of uncertainty. And your approval is not the end of the process, because then it has to go for the governor's signature, which sometimes could take weeks depending on what else the governor's going on. So I think that's my only comment, is it just prolongs a period of uncertainty at a time when the QAP has gone through a significant change. I think our preference would be to wrap it up and tie it up with a bow, have it ready. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Nandini. Cindy?
Yeah, there are comments in here from Senator Slapp and from West Hartford and Jillian Gilchrist, both related to legacy age restricted existing affordable housing. So is the thought that what the other legislators are requesting is something that was already considered, that was requested by other legislators, and you did not? I mean, obviously West Hartford's a high opportunity area. But so were there concerns on the QAP group that looked at all the written comments and all the feedback? What were their comments related to Eastern Connecticut fully discussed already? I mean, do you feel like all of those comments, about the impact on Eastern Connecticut, about existing things, all of that was covered and decided no? And that's why we are where we are right now.
Cindy, I'm not understanding your question.
Okay, so one of the requests, so they had two requests. One is to delay, the second is to include legacy properties. If we believe everything has been covered, so it was looked at what areas in Eastern Connecticut, what the impact may have been, or it has already been fully discussed about allowing legacy properties to be included, and the decision was no. Because I don't know what there would be to discuss with them afterwards if you already know the QAP committee is no on it and has already considered both of those details.
So we did discuss that. Terry, do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure, thank you. We did have lengthy conversations on permitting legacy developments and what the impact would be. And when we looked at the scope of development that might be impacted, there were perhaps one or two maybe developments that the committee agreed would best be worked with separately if there was a dramatic impact, because grandfathering just delays the implementation, the full implementation, and not for any other reason than just to favor a particular development, which seemed inappropriate in a competitive round. So it's best, the committee agreed to say, we're not going to look at grandfathering at legacy, but we will look at development applications that are impacted and have concerns and work with them outside the QAP process to make sure that the developments are successfully funded in one fashion or another.
Thank you, Terry. Lisa?
Yes, hi, thanks. So I just want to follow up a little bit on Tim's comment. And undoubtedly, there's been terrific work on this. Terry has done a great job, Nandini. I would say, though, that it's a little bit unclear exactly what the concerns from the Eastern Connecticut delegation are. And so not being able to really understand that fully from the letter. And yes, it was received, late, but I think we do have to make some allowances for the fact that it has been an extraordinary few months for all of us with COVID. So I think saying that there's been a good process is true. Saying that people, including our legislators, have been very much absorbed in a lot of other issues is also true. And I have a little bit of a discomfort level at not fully understanding what 10 legislators who signed that letter have in mind, and having that discussion before we would move forward, since we don't know if we really have addressed those concerns or not. I understand that a 30-day delay would not be well received by some developers, but we do have to balance, and that's what we're trying to do in all regards.
So we do have to balance, but I also think that there is a process in place and that we should respect that process. And we have gone through many months, and as I said, I do not want to disregard the concern that the delegation have, and we will work with them. But so at this point, I will put it up to a vote, because we do need to be sensitive to that process. Because if somebody, once we do this, somebody else comes with another issue that they have, so we will have to stop that process again. And
Can I just ask
for all the work that has been done so far?
Yeah, I agree, Sheila. Can I just, and I, again, agree with Kylie. If this were just one legislator, I might not have as big of an issue, but we're talking about 10. And I guess my question is, even if we vote today, and let's just say it goes to the governor, it's not as though this necessarily goes away, right? I mean, what if there are additional people who have concerns before this even gets to the governor's desk, right? My question is, can we resolve this issue, whatever their concerns are, before we vote on it? That's my only question.
Yeah, this is Glenn Thames. I would really agree with what Tim is suggesting and what Lisa kind of outlined, because, at the end of the day, we are in the public sphere. Things happen, and these things happen and can, delay a process. That's just the world that we live in. And ultimately, if this is going to the governor for signature, we want to make sure that this is, properly vetted, and we don't create issues for that process as well. And so I don't think there's any harm in delaying it for 30 days, just to make sure we're all clear on what the issues are, and we can speak to that delegation of strong legislative leaders to make sure we're addressing their concerns, and they clearly understand that issues that they think are issues are really not issues. And so that would be kind of my comfort in really just pausing for 30 days and really kind of getting underneath what the issues are and trying to remedy it, to make sure when we come back in 30 days, we can approve it and it's a clear process that the governor can sign from that point on.
Taylor, I can't find my hand. So at some point, can you call on me again? I got a new PC and I can't find it.
Find your hands? Okay, go ahead.
Look, I totally agree with Tim and the last speaker. No reflection on the work done. And to be honest with you, after the meeting or the reach out to the legislator, even if they want something and our staff says that's not the best thing to do, I would support our staff. But sometimes you do things in life, not because you have to, it's because it's the right thing to do, or because it doesn't really cost you anything. Remember, anybody who's familiar with politics, to get 10 politicians from different parties, meaning Republican and Democrat, to agree to one thing, one developer doesn't have that power. And especially after the meeting we had yesterday, where we were all encouraged to work with the legislators and to cooperate as best as we can. If we got nothing to lose, I'm telling you, if it comes to a vote, I'm voting no. And there's no reflection on the merits of it. It has, because I think We're being stubborn because somebody didn't follow the process, and it was not us. They were doing with marijuana. They were doing it with the budget. They were dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff, right? You know, they were having, you know, parties outside the Capitol, whatever the reason was. Look, unless you're telling me it's really going to really impact the operations, we have nothing to lose by simply being sensitive enough to say, and it's not fair to say that if anytime one person complains, no, this is 10 legislators for different parties. That's so impossible to get them to sign one letter. And I don't think any one developer has that kind of power. And that's just my opinion. And if it comes to vote, I'm gonna be voting no, and I want the record to clearly reflect there's no reflection on the work the staff did, or even what we're recommending. It's because I think we should spend the time to reach out and understand their point, and for them to understand that we don't think it impacts it the same way. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, Terry, let me ask you on the legal, on the processes in legal. So we're postponing the vote to the QAP. Doesn't mean that we have to open it up to the public. What happens?
So if we don't vote today, then it's as if we just had a discussion and we're going to vote in July. It doesn't open up a public comment period. It doesn't open up a new hearing unless there is significant change that's requested that the board would then have to consider. You know, the task force would consider it, bring it to board. Now we're talking into September because we don't typically meet in August, and then get the board's sign off, the governor's approval. Now we're into October, November. This is the timing is such that in order to have a round in January, we really need to have approval, you know, by next month with no changes. Otherwise, we're going back out for comment.
We could do a special meeting if the board were to agree to a special meeting. That's always an option.
So we can postpone the vote because we want to listen to the delegation. If there is no changes, I mean, know that we will make changes, but that we do give the delegation an opportunity to talk specific about what are the issues, and then we postpone the vote for the July meeting. And that won't cause, I mean, 1 month is the only ramification that we'll have there, unless there are sufficient comments that we will make, that we would suggest for some changes, and then we'll extend the period of time, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I want to be able to say that our office thinks we should engage with these legislators and hear them out. And I think maybe through explanation, there won't have to be changes is what I'm kind of hearing. But yeah, if we had to vote on this today, I would be voting no.
Okay. So
So I think if you want, Rob Hicks, can you weigh in on what would happen, how we would move forward with the motion that was already made?
Sure. I think for clarity of the record, it might make sense to, I mean, you could make a motion to postpone the vote, take a roll call.
I mean, you could pass over the motion, that's all. Ignore the motion, don't deal with it.
Or someone could withdraw it. I think Kylie made the motion.
Yeah.
Kylie?
So the question is whether
could you withdraw the motion?
I don't think we should withdraw the motion. I think we should move forward with the vote.
Okay,
and I move that we table the item.
I second it.
And that would give you your straw poll.
And I'll second it.
And the motion to table overrides any other motion, so.
Okay, so Cindy and Shelley, could you do the call?
Sure. Cindy Butts?
Yes.
Heidi DeWinger?
Can we clarify what so the motion is to withdraw the original motion? Is that what we're voting on? Or are we voting
Table it.
on the vote?
Table it.
Yes.
Table the motion for the next meeting.
Yes, since you didn't withdraw, we have to take a formal vote. So we're doing a motion to postpone or table until for 30 days.
Heidi DeWinger, Kylie Goslin,
No.
Tim Hodges,
Aye.
Kathy McKinnon,
Aye.
Salem Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
George Perez,
Yes.
Sarah Sanders,
Yes, to table.
Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Glenn Thames,
Yes, to table.
Greg Ugaldi.
No.
So 2 oppositions.
Motion carries to table the vote for the next meeting. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
And if I could just explain my no vote, I think it adds a little bit of weight to tell these legislators that we do have a process. And while they may have something to add, they should do it in accordance with the rules. And that should be understood. It is now, we will be able to listen and hear and hopefully resolve any issues they have, but that we have a process in place for a reason.
Thank you, Greg. Noted. Our next item on the agenda is a report from Hazim. Hazim, are you still there?
I'm still here. So be nice to me.
All right.
Okay, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. This morning, for your edification and also update, I would like to just give an update to the steps that we discussed and we provided to the board at the March meeting. So just to give like at a very high level at the March board meeting, we did provide changes that we wanted to implement to our homeownership program, where we believe those changes were necessary, not just to help first-time home buyers, but also to revitalize the home ownership sector. For that, I have before you a few pages. So at the March meeting, as I mentioned, I presented 7 steps. So the first step was about increasing lender compensation. So just to give some color, because I know some members were not available and were not in attendance at the March meeting. When we presented this idea and this step, the whole idea and notion was to help lenders push along the process, because we knew, at least currently, for home buyers to secure their contract and buy the homes, they are competing with other buyers that may have better means, such as cash buyers. So one of the things that what we did not want to do was a lender that took their time, therefore the potential home buyer may lose on the sale. So what we did was we, on April 19, inform our lender community that they have the ability to earn an additional 44 basis points of additional compensation, so long as the loans are delivered to CHFA for purchase within 75 days. So what you can see on the screen is from April 19 through May 31, we did see an uptick of purchases, where close to 70% of the purchases for that partial money in April, they were delivered within 75 days. And then also for May, closing to about 60%. But when we compare year over year, you can see that this action alone did help move along the process, where the weighted average went down from 2020 from 86 days to about 75 days. And then in 2019 was about 85 days. So we are moving the average. So from our standpoint, we believe that this was a good action to take. The second step which is on the next page, is about providing and expanding our program to allow homeowners or qualified home buyers, I should say, an ability to reserve their interest rate either by electing a 1 point or a 0 point. So the idea here is, if in an event that they have an inability to raise the 1% to get the loan, they also may be able to access our loan product by getting the 0 point. So when we launched this back in April 8th, you can see the blue bar represent the 1 point, and then the green bar is the 0 point. So for that partial month in April, we did see a switch of, or an interest from about 37% of reservation coming for loans at 0 point. And then for the month of May, it went up from 37% to 55%. So we do think that homeowners or home buyers, I should say, if they have the opportunity, they do prefer the 0 point. Now, what does that mean to our program? So I did include a matrix on the right side, and you can see that while we have made these changes, we are still experiencing below than normal reservation. When I spoke with a few of our top lenders, they indicated to me that the issue is not about the lack of qualified buyers, is more to do with a combination of difficulty competing with home buyers that are bringing cash to the table and low inventory. So we do see that there's still a lot of work to be done. I'm assuming all of you have heard about the rising home prices. So if you look at the last column, you can see that for 2019, the average loan that was reserved for our program was 186,000. It was about the same for 2020, but for 2021, it has risen up to 205,000. So we are seeing that impact of rising home prices, home buyers competing, or first-time home buyers being squeezed out because they are competing directly with cash buyers. You have investors out there. You have buyers who are willing to waive contingencies, which is always a bad thing. But those are the elements our first-time home buyers are facing. The next thing that we did is on the down payment assistance loan rate. Now, this is in addition to all the changes that the board approved since last year. If you remember, we make a big change at the end of last year where we, in essence, increase the availability of down payment for up to $20,000. We essentially increased the CLTV from 100% to 105. We changed the back-end ratio, or the debt to income ratio, to 45. We've waived the asset test. So on April 30th and until the rest of the year, we went out and we informed the community that if they get a down payment from CHFA, the rate will be 1%. So you can see at the bottom from the chart that when it comes to home buyers electing to get down payment, in 2019, it was averaging between 28 to 34%. In 2020, it was between 35 to 46%. But after we made all these changes, it has jumped greater than 65% on average. So we know that this type of assistance will help those home buyers that may lack the equity access the house. Setting aside the stuff that I mentioned about, low inventory and competing with cash buyers. If you are wondering what is our current average, so for 2019, the average was around $6,062, but for 2021, the average for our down payment currently is about $13,500. So that is double what we offer in prior years. And then, so now the next page will show the steps that we are undertaking, but we have not completed yet. So one of the steps that we did mention to the board was trying to create a FTE or full-time employee to act as a dedicated lender liaison. We are working towards posting that position. So we hope to hire somebody before the end of the year. The second item that we were considering was trying to create an alternative down payment product. So this includes, instead of having a level amortization, we were thinking about setting up a deferred type of a structure. But before we do so, we would like to see a bit more data from all the changes that we did, because one of the things that we don't want to do is create many changes that we think is good, but it will just create more confusion in the marketplace. And then the last but not least are two steps that I did hear, at least from members during the March meeting, that there was some positive reception on it, is to pursue a product for non-first time home buyer, which will also include to offer a refinance product. So we did look through our statute, we discussed with various parties, and the answer is yes, we can offer this product. But for us to offer this product, one of the things that we do need to do is to relook at our procedures and then to amend it. And when we talk about our procedures, any changes to it, we need to go through the same process like the QAP, where we have to post it for public comments and so on and so forth. Now, I just want to note here, the intent of opening it up for non-first time home buyers is not for the purpose of just trying to boost up our production. The primary intent is to ensure that we can continue to provide assistance to people who are approved in our income band, or what we believe are qualified home buyers. And the only reason why they don't qualify for our program is because they don't satisfy the Internal Revenue Code. So it is not trying to compete, directly, or trying to increase our market share and trying to just make us something that we are not. We're still all about trying to ensure that the product that we offer is serving that particular clientele. So I'll be happy to answer any question, or if any members want to provide any feedback, because at least when it comes to point number 3A, it's something that we've been thinking about, and we do need to design it. So I'm not sure if there's anything that members would like to share in terms of their opinion before we start recommending something back to the board.
Thank you, Hazin. Questions or comments for Hazin's presentation?
I'll do a comment. This is really extraordinary. I just think it's so great that you were figuring out how to address it, because it is a real crisis for first-time buyers right now. So I just want to say, I'm so proud to participate with CHFA, that you're being creative in addressing this. So thank you. It's great.
Thank you, Cindy. Any other comment? All right. Well, thank you, Hazin.
Thank you so much.
Can I have a motion for our consent agenda?
Move.
Moved.
Shelley, you got that?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody move and somebody second it?
It's Cindy and
second.
Tim.
Tim second it. Okay, thanks. Comments or questions? All right, Shelley, could you please
Cindy
ahead.
Betts,
Yes.
Heidi had to step off. Kylie Goslin,
Yes.
Tim Hodges,
Yes.
Kathy McKinnon,
Yes.
Salem Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
George Perez. George must have stepped off. Sarah Sanders,
Yes.
Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Glenn Thames,
Aye.
Hold on a second.
Greg Ugaldi,
Yes.
unanimous.
Motion carries. Thank you, Shelley. Before we
Shelley,
adjourn-
I vote yes too.
Okay, thank you.
I couldn't find my mute button. I got a new laptop. I'm trying to figure it out.
Thank you,
Thank you.
George. Before we finish, I just wanted to mention that so we will have another virtual meeting in July, but we were thinking with Nandini to reconvene in person in September. We have a vacation month in August, so we won't have a meeting in August. So, and then in September, if we can have, and I don't know how people feel to have a in-person meeting. So I just want to have hear you guys, whether you will be willing to have an in-person meeting. Tim?
Yes, I'm happy to have it in person. If there's an opportunity to do both, that might be useful for folks, but I'm comfortable.
Okay.
I would
any
add
other
that
comments?
also. I'm comfortable, but also if there is any possibility of doing both in case I know traveling and so on, it might be nice to be able to make it to a meeting, even if it's virtual.
Yep. Nandini,
You're
could
gonna
you
ask
comment
me.
on that? Can we make it a combination?
I'm gonna talk to the IT gods.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you know. But
So
I'll come back.
we'll let you know in the July meeting.
Yeah,
Okay,
sounds good.
good. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Comments, question, anybody want to stay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.